Hello, my name is Norman Collins. I'm fortunate to be the Chief of San Juan Island Fire and Rescue. We protect San Juan Island, Pearl, and Brown Island, as well as all the federal and state lands for all of the islands for San Juan County. San Juan Island Fire and Rescue has responded in a number of ways to our existing current COVID-19 pandemic. Normally, our day-to-day operations involves responding on emergencies, whether they're traffic accidents, fires, burn investigations, citizens assists, emergency medical. When the pandemic started, we could continue to do daily operations. As the pandemic grew, we changed into a state of emergency. What that state of emergency drove us to was different staffing models. We needed to not only protect our community, we needed to adjust and protect our volunteer and career responders as well. We rolled up 24 hours a day, 7 days a week staffing after the governor proclaimed his stay-at-home order. What we felt we needed to do as part of our response was to tighten up our coordinated response with San Juan Island EMS. San Juan Island EMS added an additional basic life support person onto the ambulance so that it responds with 2 EMTs. It still maintained the paramedic staffing as they normally did. What we did on the fire and EMS side of it, we rolled up a 3-person engine company. That means that we had one of our career officers work as the lieutenants. We then also added an apparatus operator and a firefighter. Most of those individuals are dual trained firefighter EMTs. We also altered how we respond as command officers. So through this entire time, you have either myself or Chief Monin as our assistant chief as command officers that are monitoring 24 hours a day between the two of us to assure response. The other thing we did is we maintained that we had 24-hour staffing on our Marine unit. We staff on a regular basis the only fire response and EMS response boat in the county. That gives us the ability to back up and support both Shaw, Lopez, and Orcas Islands, as well as being able to respond to any of the other islands within the chain should there be a need. San Juan Island Fire and Rescue decided to change the plan for 3 key reasons. During that state of emergency, we wanted to be able to limit the exposure to any disease process to our responders. Make sure that we had appropriate levels while not putting our responders at undue risk. The second thing we wanted to do was we wanted to assure 24 hours a day response should our community need it. And finally, we wanted to have visible presence in the community while everyone else was stuck inside protecting and giving social distancing. We wanted to make sure that everyone knew and was confident that we were out and ready to respond. As this pandemic grew, what we found is the emergency responders, that being the chief of Orcas Fire, the chief of Lopez Fire, chief of Shaw Fire, myself, EMS Chief Kutzing, and Sheriff Krebs, we found that we had an opportunity through our incident command system that we could enhance how we responded to things. And what we put together was the Fire Operations Center. Within that incident command system, similar to the Emergency Operations Center that many of you have heard about that the county spooled up, we spooled up specifically the Fire Operations Center. Those leaders that you just heard me mention came together to be able to assure that we had a plan on how we made sure that we had enough personal protective equipment between each of us, how we communicated that through the Emergency Operations Center, who our FOC rep is Chief Kutzing, who is in the EMS branch of the EOC. He became our conduit into that center. What we found, though, is that we could coordinate messaging through each of our agencies to our local communities, to our responders, but more importantly, what we did is we put together contingency plans that gave us the ability to have resources put together by each of those aforementioned agencies to be able to respond should one of those agencies need to quarantine because of an exposure. We therefore were able to put together staffing from all of the agencies in the county to be able to protect the communities that we serve by a conglomeration of each of our agencies. So for example, if we needed to have an extra apparatus because of a surge on Orcas, we could bring responders from Lopez, from Orcas, from Shaw, from San Juan Island together to be able to meet those needs of our neighbors anywhere in the county. We've learned quite a bit in the recent past that gives us a roadmap and ideas of how we can improve for the foreseeable future as well as some long-term future as well. What we learned as we've noticed it, this grew from what could have been the annual cold, the annual flu. We learned that this was more catastrophic from a global perspective than we ever thought. We started as a, hey, let's keep an awareness on this. It then grew to significantly be the most prolific pandemic of our time. We learned through coordination, we learned through collaboration that our foreseeable future will still have change. We're still in the process of flattening the curve by our social distancing. We're learning what kind of personal protective equipment we need now and for the future. We've seen our communities come together to support each other, the emergency responders and the healthcare workers on the front lines of this pandemic. What this also means is that we have an opportunity to see as a second wave comes through, as we see through global statistics, that we may have a second wave. Down the road, what this means for us, of the relationships that we've already built and or strengthened in this pandemic, we can foresee changes for future pandemics in years to come, in decades to come, but more importantly, we've learned how we can better serve our communities from a collaborative standpoint where we all work together as emergency responders to meet the needs of our local communities as well as each of the island communities throughout this county. Thank you as all the citizens and residents of our communities. We, without you, could not have flattened the curve. You're doing what you need to do by social distancing and being aware of each other and coming together to support each other. So thank you. Second piece is, as Chief of San Juan Island Fire and Rescue, I want to thank all of our responders, all of our healthcare workers that we have out there. Not only do we have a stellar set of emergency responders on the fire and EMS front on San Juan Island and the other islands that are protected, we know that we have many volunteers in our community that are stepping up to help fill those gaps and those needs within our community. So thank you as well. Keep up the good work, keep up the social distancing, and if you find as your kids and young ones need something to do, check out our Facebook page and see as we, the firefighters and volunteers here at San Juan Island Fire and Rescue, wanted to do something else to give back while you're social distancing. We're reading different children's books on a periodic basis from the firefighters to you. Thank you, be safe, and be healthy.